Michigan, October 20th, 2000. The stage was set for one of the most explosive and downright scandalous fights in boxing history. On one side, you had the unchained beast, Iron Mike Tyson, a man whose name alone sent shivers down the spine of any fighter. On the other, a wild and unpredictable Pole, Andrew Golota, who was just as crazy, if not more. Two men with nothing to lose but their sanity. What followed was a night that would go down in the annals of boxing as the Night Madness met its match. Tyson was no stranger to chaos. By the time he stepped into that Michigan ring, the young phenom who'd once bulldozed his way to the top was a distant memory. This was a different Tyson, one who'd survived prison, drugs, street brawls, and, yes, even biting off a piece of someone's ear. But if you thought Iron Mike had lost his edge, you were dead wrong. He was still the most feared man in boxing, and that fear was exactly what kept fans glued to their screens every time he fought. But on the other side of the ring stood a man who could match Tyson's madness punch for punch. Andrew Golota wasn't your run-of-the-mill fighter. He had all the tools to be a future champion: the power, the skill, the toughness. But there was one big problem: his mind. Golota was a wild card, a guy whose mental state was as unpredictable as a ticking time bomb. You never knew when it might go off, and when you combine that kind of mental instability with Tyson's raw, explosive power, you're setting the stage for something truly chaotic. It was like mixing gasoline with fire. You just knew it was going to blow up in everyone's face. And that night, it did exactly that. A month before the fight, the world got a taste of what was to come at the press conference. Golota arrived first, calm, collected, even cracking a joke about his reputation. But when Tyson finally showed up 3 hours late, it was clear that the storm was about to hit. Tyson's words were a mix of confidence, anger, and a hint of desperation. He wanted to fight the best, to prove that he was still the baddest man on the planet, and he made sure everyone knew it. Tyson was like, "I want to try the best out. I don't care about why. I want to see how good I am. I know I got my issues. I'm belligerent. I'm sometimes vicious and violent, but that's because of what happened. But I feel good now. Let's bring it on." And so the stage was set. October 20th, 2000. Michigan was gearing up for a fight that would leave the entire boxing world in shock. From the moment the first bell rang, Tyson charged out, fist flying, determined to land a big shot right from the start. His left hand was on a mission to connect early and do some serious damage. Golota, to his credit, wasn't about to just roll over. He stood his ground, throwing cautious jabs, trying to keep Tyson at bay. But then, with just 30 seconds left in the first round, Tyson unleashed a brutal right overhand. It was like a hammer, and it sent Golota crashing down to the canvas. The crowd went wild, knowing they were witnessing something unforgettable. It wasn't a devastating knockdown. Golota touched the floor with his hands first, signaling that he wasn't done. But something changed in those moments. A cut had formed under Golota's left eye, not from Tyson's fist, but from a possible headbutt. As the bell rang to end the round, Golota's mind began to unravel. During the break, Golota made an astonishing request. He wanted out. His corner was in disbelief, urging him to keep fighting, telling him he could still win. But Golota had already made up his mind. The second round began, and Tyson continued to dominate. But Golota didn't look like a man who was about to quit. Then, as the third round loomed, Golota rose from his stool, walked to the center of the ring, and told the referee he'd had enough. The arena exploded in chaos. Golota's trainer tried to force a mouthpiece into his clenched teeth. Tyson's team had to restrain the enraged fighter, and the crowd turned into a mob. As Golota made his way back to the locker room, garbage rained down on him, and a red soda can struck him in the chest, spilling like blood. In a daze, Golota muttered to a reporter, "I quit." In a post-fight interview, Golota was a shell of the fighter who had entered the ring just minutes earlier. He stuttered, spoke incoherently, and looked like a man on the brink of a breakdown. What had happened? The knockdown? The headbutt? Or was it something deeper, something more psychological that had driven Golota to throw in the towel? The next day, Golota was rushed to the hospital, where doctors discovered he'd suffered a concussion, a fractured cheekbone, and a herniated disc. The injuries were serious, but many wondered if they were severe enough to justify quitting the fight. As it turned out, Golota wasn't just battling Tyson, he was battling his own demons. Golota's trainer, who had ripped into him right after the fight, soon had a change of heart. Once he realized just how bad Golota's injuries were, he knew he'd been too harsh and apologized. But by then, the damage was already done. The public had made up its mind. Showtime, the network that aired the fight, didn't hold back either. They went as far as labeling Golota a coward, with executive Jay Larkin even saying that Golota should be banned from boxing for life. It was a harsh judgment that stuck with Golota for years, casting a long shadow over his career. No matter what he did afterward, that night in Michigan was the moment that defined him in the eyes of many fans and critics alike. Tyson was declared the winner by technical knockout, but the victory was short-lived. Post-fight tests revealed traces of marijuana in Tyson's system, leading the fight to be ruled a no contest. Tyson was fined $5,000 and suspended for 3 months, but the real punishment was the tarnishing of his already damaged reputation. Tyson went on to fight 5 more times after that chaotic night, but it wasn't the same. He lost 3 of those bouts before finally calling it quits in 2005. The fierce, unstoppable Tyson of old was gone, replaced by a fighter trying to hold on to the past. As for Golota, he didn't stay down for long. He got back in the ring in 2003, chasing the heavyweight title 3 more times. But it just wasn't meant to be. He lost every time. Both men's careers eventually faded away, leaving fans to wonder what might have been. They were forever linked by that wild night in Michigan, a night that could have been the start of something great, but instead became a marker of their career's decline. In 2014, Golota spoke out about that night, claiming that it wasn't his injuries that led him to quit, but the unfairness he felt from the referee. He believed Tyson had deliberately headbutted him, and when the referee failed to take action, Golota's rage boiled over. He felt betrayed, abandoned by his corner, and left to fend for himself against a fighter known for his brutality. But was this just an excuse? Or had Golota truly been driven to the brink by a mixture of physical pain and psychological torment? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. That night, both Tyson and Golota had plans. Tyson planned to bulldoze his way back to the top, and Golota planned to outbox the Beast. But in the end, madness won out. And for one man, that madness became too much to bear. This was the night Iron Mike Tyson didn't just beat a man, he drove him to the edge of insanity. That's it for today. Which of these savage moments were your favorite? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're a true boxing fan.